237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
Would you like to start working from home? Then do what over 200,000 people have done. Take an investment class at Online Trading Academy. Online Trading Academy is a real brick-and-mortar classroom school that teaches people of all ages how income is made with stocks, options, futures, forex, even Bitcoin. At Online Trading Academy, you learn techniques used by pro traders, banks, and institutions, and how they make money in up, sideways, and down markets. Learn how to pick the right investments, how to time the market, and how to limit the risk on all trades with a patented rules-based strategy taught only at Online Trading Academy. If you're looking for a way to start working from home, do what over 200,000 students have done. Call now for a pair of tickets to a free half-day class in Broward or Palm Beach at Online Trading Academy, the leader in investment education. Call 954-668-2510. 954-668-2510. 954-668-2510.
Taking over-the-counter or prescription drugs unnecessarily is a drag, whereas feeling great like you used to is the way it ought to be. Learn how to feel, function, and perform to your full health potential. Tune into the Dr. Bob Martin Show, Sunday morning at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
What you want to know. What you need to know. Talk 1470 WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
This is Tanoa Lynn Poirier, and I want to welcome you to Comm-Unity Conversations on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. This show is about you. I want to hear your trials and triumphs, challenges and victories, and how you overcome obstacles every day in our dynamic industry. All callers are welcome to join Community Conversations. This is where we'll discuss all things in common. We'll discuss managers, directors, vendors, and owners. Let's elevate the conversation. Raise the bar. Start here, now. Good afternoon and welcome to Community Conversations with Tanoa. I'm your host, Tanoa Lynn Poirier. You are listening to 95.3 FM, WNN, and 1470 AM. You can also listen and watch live on Facebook/Hello Tanoa. That's HELLO TANOA. And you can see past shows on hellotanoa.com. There you'll find blogs and past shows. So do yourself a favor. If you've missed some shows and you'd like to catch up, head on over. Welcome to Friday. I love hosting the show on a Friday because it's the end of the week. Everybody's starting to kind of decompress. It's the start of the time you're going to spend with your family and friends. It's St. Patrick's weekend, St. Patrick's Day weekend. So there's an extra expectation of green beer and green shakes and all things green. So I hope you've planned something fun, particularly my community association managers who work a lot, have a lot of stress, find a way to decompress. One of the things we're going to talk about today is how we work together and how we work through some issues as community association managers as we approach the end of the first quarter. I took a poll on Twitter asking community association managers, as we close on the first quarter, how are you doing? Are you on track? Are you falling behind and feeling stressed? I'm behind on a few things and I'm feeling stressed, full disclosure. Or are you ahead of the game? I'm ahead of the game on some things and falling behind on some things. So I guess there's a balance there. But fortunately, it's the first quarter and we have time to catch up as we approach in Florida our busy season, which is summer. That is because the snowbirds, a large percentage of the population goes to their northern homes, and that is the time when we do the heavy repairs, replacements, construction, etc. So our busy season is coming up. I want to make sure that you are prepared, that you understand the end of your projects, that you have got those proposals in line, and that you are prepared to, if you need to have a community vote, that you have got that in mind. You're working with your attorneys, yes. And if it's something the board needs to vote on, that you're giving them adequate options to choose from. As you know, this show is largely geared toward community associations, but I know board members listen to this show, owners listen to this show, property managers who manage apartment complexes listen to the show. So although it is geared toward licensed community managers, everybody who owns a home, lives in a community, knows someone who lives in a community, works in a community, lawyers, engineers, accountants, landscapers, plumbers, etc., can listen and learn something from the show. Last week, we talked with Schiller and Associates, Don and Terry. Thanks, Don and Terry, for spending some time with us. They reminded us that working with experts, your accountant, your attorney, your engineer, is a necessary process when you're making recommendations to the board. You have to stay in your lane, managers, and it is for your good and the good of the community. I know that there are some boards who are cost conscious, and that's great. That means that they are taking seriously their fiduciary responsibility. Remember, fiduciary just means a position of trust. They are looking out for the community. But you can also be penny wise and pound foolish, as they call it. Encourage the board to seek experts when there is something that you think is going to be a bigger issue down the line. Get an engineer to take a look at it. Get an attorney to review those contracts that are over a certain level, and you and your board can determine what that level is. But those contracts protect the interests of the association. Many times when you receive a boilerplate contract from a vendor, it's probably vendor-centric. Although you're going to get the terms that you want at the price you want, what does the small print say? And so do yourself a favor, allow your board, let the board allow you to communicate with the attorney and get a contract that is favorable to the association, or at a minimum, equally fair to the association and the vendor. You're going to really be happy in the long run if you make that a habit and continue to encourage the board to do that for the benefit of themselves, the manager, the management company, and the community. And then obviously we're in tax season, working with the accountant to go through all of the financial reports that you have provided over the past year. There is nothing to be afraid of. Remain an open book. If there's an issue or a variance, guess what? They're going to find it, and you have a chance to fix it. But you want to make sure that you are providing all of the information so that you continue that trusting relationship that you have with your board of directors, and that you've got nothing to worry about. So keep those three in mind at a minimum. But one of the things we're going to do today is just talk about kind of a 5 at 5. I do this once in a while, and we're going to try to get through 5 suggestions. A few of them are tips from the book. And if you've been listening to the show anytime, you know that I authored a book called 365 Tips for Community Managers, Property Managers, and Property Owners. And my desire and my goal has always been to help other people avoid mistakes that I've made, or remind you of things that you already knew, or learn something new in a different way than you had been thinking about it, because I'm always learning. And I'm going to have someone on the show soon who has a way of providing some waterproofing for community associations in a way that I didn't know. He taught me something. I didn't feel guilty about what I had done before, because you only know what you know when you know it, is I think something that Terry Schiller taught us last week. So what I want to say is, first, I want you to stay in your lane. What I'm getting lately from speaking with other managers and listening on social media and having conversation with my own boards is that they sometimes want you to provide them with expert advice. Stay in your lane in this regard. Respectfully decline their desire to impose on you something outside of your lane. Do not offer legal advice. Do not review a contract in a way that is anything other than just making sure that the terms that were agreed upon are agreed upon. Do not write and initial any contracts that you are not a party to. Do not sign any contracts that the association is a party to. Now, sometimes the association will allow you to sign contracts under a certain amount for regular routine maintenance. That's not what I'm referring to. What I'm referring to is binding the insurance in long-term agreements. It is not your role. It's not your money. It's not your responsibility. The board cannot transfer their responsibility to you. And I'm going to say that again because this is really important. The board cannot transfer their responsibility to you. They were elected. They have a fiduciary responsibility to the owners, and they cannot, by virtue of the fact that you manage their property, transfer their responsibility to you. What you can do is give them all of the help you can, in terms of your experience, your skill set, and your education. Provide them with that advice, but ultimately they make the decision, they sign the contracts. You are likely passing through those resolutions, those contracts, those decisions passed by the board of directors in a community association belong with the board. They are official documents. They are a change to the rules and regs. They have long-term contracts with a pest control provider, a attorney, as I mentioned, a landscaper, irrigation, whomever. It's not your community. It's not your money. Do not obligate the association by signing any documents. If you have heard nothing from me of all the time we've spent together, hear this. Again, the board cannot transfer their responsibility to you. And I will tell you that there's some things coming up where, for efficiency's sake, they'll say, well, just sign it. And if that happens and you have board members, particularly in Florida, who are absentee, make sure there is an email giving you explicit, in writing, permission to do it. And then by order of board of directors, you can do that. But work that out with the attorney and protect yourself. Okay? You'll be glad that we had this little conversation on the air. The other thing I want to just bring up is there's a tip in the book. It's tip number 45 in the 365 Tips book. And it is be aware of health, safety, and welfare issues. And mostly now I'm talking to community association managers and, frankly, property managers. If they're, as you speak, you're on radio, as you are going about your inspections, don't just look at the obvious. Yes, you can see there's debris around. You can tell whether the pool looks okay, whether the pool furniture is cleaned, whether or not the parking lot has parking stops that are falling apart. I want you to dig deeper, okay? I want you to go up and down the stairs if you have a high rise or if there are any railings, and kind of make sure that you check all of the railings. Because if you don't, and somebody happens to depend on that railing and it's not working, guess what? So go deeper. I would say that if you would walk the property as if for the first time, and just imagine that if there are obstacles in your way, and in Florida, it often happens that there are palm trees that are planted as baby palm trees next to walkways. Well, guess what? Palm trees grow, and there are fronds, F-R-O-N-D-S, those are the branches of palm trees, in the walking space of a normal sort of ingress and egress of an opening or a walkway or coming out of a building. If you have to dodge out of the way to get through that sidewalk, that is a risk liability. So if you just, because you're on the property so much, and if you've been on a property a long time, you may just move it out of the way and keep going. I want you to step back and imagine yourself on that property for the first time. Or, this is something I like to do, is invite a peer manager onto the property so that it is their first time, and just say, just walk the property for me and tell me what I'm missing. And very often they're going to point out things that you have missed because you see it every day. It has become familiar to you and you're not seeing things clearly. So either of those two things, in terms of a fresh eye of your own or inviting someone on, a peer manager. And of course you will return the favor and do the same for them. In an inspection this week, I sat down on benches that I normally don't sit on because I don't live in the community, but I discovered that one of the benches, actually as I touched it, and kind of shook some of the areas that looked like they might be vulnerable, a piece actually broke off of it. And so guess what? If I hadn't done that, that could have happened to someone else. And I'm not suggesting that this is something you have to do all the time, but I want you to go deeper in your inspections. I want you to imagine living in that community and what the components of that community may look like, feel like, and sound like if you are in a community where you have sound stages and this sort of thing. So the other thing is, I don't know if you've ever considered it, but I will tell you, if you contact the fire marshal in your city, county, village, they would be happy to do a fire drill for you. And there have been times in the past when I have asked for a fire drill and there's a full-blown drill. We noticed it. We made sure that the community was involved. There were ladders and firemen, and they were on the roof. And not having this experience ever means it's out of sight, out of mind. One of the things that makes me insane and gives me a little bit of a tummy ache, I must admit, is when condo owners in particular hear a fire alarm and don't vacate their units. It's not just my properties. I know it happens everywhere. And I continue to stress to the board that this is a problem because there are many false alarms. And for high rises, smoke alarms are super sensitive. And they need to be because, for obvious reasons, seconds count, right? So in these communities, when there is work being done or somebody is smoking in the hallway, or there are very often false alarms, but every time that fire alarm goes off, people should vacate the buildings. One of the problems is in Florida, and I'm just going to say it, is that in Florida, it's a retirement state. A lot of people are elderly, very elderly. Negotiating the stairs is a virtual impossibility. And when the fire alarm goes off, guess what? The elevators don't work. No one wants to be trapped in an elevator during a fire, so the elevators don't work. The people who are in their units, you need to make sure that you have a name of everybody who is non-ambulatory, meaning they're not going to be able to get down those stairs. For the firemen, you report that to your fire marshal or at your local station and let them know in unit 1105, 1202, 901, that they need to make sure that these people get out because they are either wheelchair bound or use a cane and cannot negotiate the stairs, and they're on the penthouse floor, right? So those are the kinds of things that you don't think about or experience as a new manager. So take it from me as an experienced manager who has had some experience with these kinds of issues, that I want you to just imagine how you would feel if you were that person, and going the extra mile and making sure that you are make them aware that, you know, in an emergency, they are not going to be abandoned. It'll go a long way to showing your professionalism and a sense of real caring for the people in your community. And the last thing on this subject, which is health, safety, and welfare, is do not hire for the association or recommend hiring any contractor that is not licensed and insured. It's not worth it. There is no recourse for damage they cause the association. They should not be given any contracts. And I actually had a contractor say to me, you know, it's against the law to discriminate against people who have no insurance. Baloney is what I say to that. That's baloney. That's not true. Hire contractors that are licensed and insured. If it's for something for which they need a permit, make sure a general contractor who is licensed is signed off on that job. And if their license elapses or they cannot produce it, invite them to leave. If you're in a gated community, do not permit them on the site. If you are not, you can use whatever means is appropriate for your community to invite them out. So that covered a lot of territory for health, safety, and welfare, but it's all good tips, I think, and that is born out of my experience, some things that I have witnessed that have gone wrong, even for me as a new manager. And again, that's tip number, I should have this by heart, 45 in the book. The other one is tip number 19. And I tweeted this tip and it is resolving conflict. I would say one of the biggest things I can tell you is invite someone else into a meeting when you're having a conflict. If you are having a conflict with an irate owner, if you are having a meeting where you have to terminate a staff member, if you have you are in a contract dispute with a vendor, invite a third party in. It will help to resolve any issues with someone revising the history of that meeting later, and then you'll both have a witness. They are welcome to bring whomever they want, but have somebody else in the room with you when you think there might be something contentious. Obviously not for something that an owner needs to speak with you privately about, but if you think that there might be a problem, invite someone in. We don't want any revisionist history going on, right? So it's about 19 after. I'm going to take a quick break, do a couple of advertisements. One of them is going to be the book, so in which these tips are in. Do yourself a favor, take a look. You'll find out where to buy it. I'll see you on the other side. Imagine having one place you can call for all your residential needs, whether it's housekeeping, repairs, remodeling, pet sitting, laundry, or anything else your heart desires. La Concierge Services is your answer. Our qualified staff is carefully chosen, experienced, licensed, and insured. They are prompt, professional, and courteous. La Concierge Services is honored to serve in South Florida's most exclusive communities. With La Concierge Services, you have a full-service, personal concierge. We would love the opportunity to earn your business. Call 561-819-2059 for more information. La Concierge Services, your personal concierge. Hello, listeners. It's Tanoa Lynn from Community Conversations. Did you know I authored a book called 365 Tips for Community Association Managers, Property Managers, and Property Owners? Yep, I did. The book is filled with little, bite-sized morsels that may help anyone working and living in any community. From working with difficult people to building consensus for big projects. There is something in it for everyone. 365 Tips is available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can also go online to hellotanoa.com. That's hello, Tanoa.com. Welcome back. This is Tanoa Lynn Poirier with Community Conversations. And I want to remind you that this show is about you. If you'd like to join the show, you can call us at 888-565-1470. Let's get back to the show. Welcome back. You are listening to Community Conversations with Tanoa on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. We're talking today about tips and kind of the benefit of my experience for community associations. Board members who are listening, this will be helpful to you, and owners who are listening, this will also be helpful to you. The next thing I want to talk about is tip number 165 in the book that you just saw an advertisement for. It is creating an Uber team or a super team. One of the most successful communities that I had the privilege to manage was a very large community, over 1,000 homes. And one of the ways we were successful is by making a super team. We included the landscaper, the irrigation folks, the plumbers, the electricians, when applicable, in our staff meetings and committee meetings, and they became a part of the solution. So it was not just, here's what we want you to do, and here's how we want you to do it, and make sure you get it done on time, and make sure it's clean. It was, tell us, give us your best advice about how we can accomplish this. What are the best flowers for this area? What are the best trees? How can we take advantage of native species? And over time, we began to build a trust between everyone from the maintenance staff to the janitorial staff to the management staff, admin, committee members, of volunteers, and the vendors that were hired to take care of the community. And they began to actually sort of speak up in the meeting. Everybody has an opportunity to contribute. So my suggestion is, if you are managing a large community or you have some community projects coming up, and as I mentioned, summer is our busy time, that you want to get your vendors included in the process. One of the things we're going to do in one of the communities is they have decided they want professional holiday lighting for next holiday season. Well, that means we have to get the electrician involved in that process, along with management and maintenance and the vendor who's going to install the lights, making sure that we have adequate amperage for the lights they're going to install, the placement of those lights as it relates to irrigation for maintenance. And so when we bring each other in as a team, we're going to hear things like, no, that won't work. The lights come on via photocell, which means they engage at dusk. And so now you have kind of an overload of the system. So you're going to be able to hear these kinds of things. Yes, that will work. No, that won't work. This is better. From your maintenance guys, they know things that you may not know. That is part of their routine, and they can help you understand it. So create Uber teams or super teams. Include your vendors who are your partners in the management of the community. And quite frankly, would love to be included in what's going on. They have a vested interest via their contracts of making the client happy. It is not an arm's length relationship between you and them. You are both partners. If you are a management team at a community, guess what? You're also a vendor. You're the on-site most visible vendor, and they just see these other vendors coming and going. But if you invite them into the process of your decision making, I think you're going to find it's going to be much more successful. Things are going to go more smoothly, and you'll begin to build trust and relationships, and you just never know how that works out. I've gotten many a referral for bidding on communities from these vendors with whom we have built a mutual trust. So if you will consider that, I think it will be successful. There's no downside to trying it. One of the last things I want to talk to you about is getting out of the chair. And not just during inspections. You have to stand and stretch. And they're saying that sitting is the new smoking. And there's a lot of desk time as it relates to community associations. You're in meetings, you're in the office preparing paperwork, you're discussing things with owners, and you're typically in the chair. Do yourself a favor. If you don't have time, or don't take the time, because we all have time for things we want, right? To do regular exercise, at a minimum, get up and walk around, even if it's just to walk around the block, walk around the community, pick one area of the community to check, take the stairs instead of the elevator, but stand and stretch. You're going to feel much better. You're going to be more useful. You're going to have more endurance if you get out of your chair more often. So please just consider it. I believe that is also a tip. It is. It's tip number 40 in the book. No, I don't have them memorized. Thank you very much. Well, that ends today's 5, and I think I had a little bonus one for you there with the stand and stretch. It's been my pleasure, as usual, to sit with you and talk to you and learn from you. And I'd appreciate it if you'd call me once in a while and tell me what you're thinking. Hit me up on Twitter at Hello Tanoa. Thank you for listening. We'll have an exciting show next week. Be a blessing to somebody. Have a great weekend. See you next time. Bye. You have been listening to Community Conversations with Tanoa Lynn Poirier. It is my honor to host this program, and I appreciate you listening. We have an exciting show planned for you next week, so mark your calendars and join me every Friday at 5 p.m. on WNN 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. We look forward to hearing from you, our listeners. It's all about learning, sharing, and teaching. We're all in this together. Until next time, be a blessing to someone and endeavor to persevere.